Will I be promising to make repayments to my employer if I breach an employment-related settlement agreement? I'm Richard Hiron, also known as the Hironator, and I'm an employment law solicitor. The answer to this question is possibly, because it depends on the wording of the settlement agreement and any indemnity or a promise to make repayments contained in that settlement agreement. So the settlement agreement that you have might essentially have a clause in there saying that if you breach the settlement agreement, or if you bring a claim relating to your employment or the way that your employment has ended that has been waived by the settlement agreement, then you might then be promising to make payments to the employer. Now, a key thing here is that if the settlement agreement is trying to get you to repay the compensation that you have received as part of the settlement agreement, then that could be what we call a penalty clause. Now, penalty clauses are not legally binding in the law of England and Wales. So if your employer tried to do that, then it might be worth actually saying this is a penalty clause because it's trying to reclaw the money, the compensation that I have received, and is therefore not enforceable. Now, that will ultimately be up to a court to decide, but it's worth making the point. So, in a nutshell, it's possible that you might have to make payments to the employer if you breach the settlement agreement. Although arguably, these repayments should be things like losses that your employer can show that it has experienced because you have breached the settlement agreement. Now, the key thing usually in this situation is please don't breach the settlement agreement, but there might be circumstances where you have no choice. I hope that's answered the question. In the meantime, if you're finding a settlement agreement hard, bring it to Richard.